good evening, baseball fans. This is Phil Dixon coming to you with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. Today we're going to talk about October 23rd. Of course, today is October 23rd, 2025. So got a lot of exciting things I want to talk about. So I'm pretty excited. Let me get a drink of water here. Actually, drinking some unsweet tea here. So we're going to jump right in there. And in case you've never joined me before, what I do is give you a baseball fact about something that happened this day in Black baseball history. Then I give you some commentary that comes from my 45 plus years of basically conducting this history on African American baseball players and baseball players in general. So yeah, if you like this kind of information, this is a place to be. And we try to keep it as interesting as possible. All right, so let's jump right in there tonight. I know you guys are getting ready for the World Series tomorrow. I am too. I'm thinking seriously if I can find the time about coming on and doing some World Series analysis. I think it's going to be a good series. And boy, I tell you, I just saw a report where the guy caught the third ball that Otani had hit for the home run, and somebody said it's worth $3 million. I tell you, that sounds bizarre to me. That sounds crazy. $3 million for a baseball. And I know it's a pretty good night. People are calling it one of the greatest nights in baseball history. But when you listen to some of the things that I'm bringing to you through the ages, there are a lot of ball players who had great nights. And so anyway, $3 million, that's amazing. So you'll probably be hearing more about that baseball as we go along. So let's jump right in here and let's get ready to go to work. Okay, let's go to October 23rd, 1905. The Philadelphia Giants marched in the Philadelphia Athletics Parade organized by the Philadelphia Inquirer newspaper. The Giants walked and carried a banner touting their record of 132 games won and 21 losses. With Saul White leading the way. That's manager Saul White, and the rest of the team that was there, and they were in uniform. And the parade, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer, drew tens of thousands of people. So just imagine that. You got the Philadelphia Giants, and they're in this parade in uniform, so most people knew who they were. They were advertised in the papers, their games were covered very well in the Philadelphia Inquirer newspaper. So that's interesting that they would be in the parade. Now the parade was for the Philadelphia Athletics, who had won the American League pennant that year, and they were going to go and play the New York Giants. And if you follow baseball history like I did, you'll probably remember that was the World Series where Christy Mathewson basically won 3 games. I think he shut them out all the games. So he had 3 games that he pitched. So he became a legend. But at the same time, think of this record: 132 games won and 22 losses. Now I've done work on a book. I don't have it in front of me, on the 1905 Philadelphia Giants, who I think were an amazing team. But I did come up with 22 games lost, not 21. And the last 2 games were when the team was not intact. So typically, and I don't know if you knew this, but typically the black baseball teams, they organized and they began play on April 1st, and then they stayed as a team until the 30th of September. Now, when they get into October, they begin to play exhibition games, and a lot of those years, what they would do is they would let the players take the gate in those exhibition games. So, so after October, most teams, or these maybe you might get the first or second week of October, but the later you get in October, those are players where the games are strictly benefiting the players. The owners took no money from that, and that happened quite frequently through the years. So that's something I just wanted to share with you in case you didn't know that. All right, so that's the Philadelphia Giants marching in a parade. Okay, so let's go to October 23rd, 1921. The Bacharach Giants knocked off Rube Foster's American Giants at Ebbets Field by the score of 5-3. Bill Holland He was pitching for the American Giants. And Bill Holland normally played for the Detroit Stars, but he was with the American Giants in late October. And he tossed a six-hitter, but lost when Jesse Nip Winters and Marvin Red Ryan. Now, these two guys ended up bringing the World Championship to Hilldale a few years later, but they combined to toss a five-hitter. And this game was played in Ebbets Field. What's interesting is how many games that these African-American teams played in National American League parks. But you could write a great book on that. It was a lot of games played. And so certain people would lend their parks quite a bit. Certain people did not. And one of those places were in St. Louis, especially Sportsman Park. It was 1941 before a Negro League team was able to actually play in Sportsman's Park. And that was, believe it or not, the Kansas City Monarchs. And I think they played the Birmingham Black Barons, if I'm correct. And but places like Ebbets Field, here it is, 1923, they were playing there earlier. The same thing occurred, Chicago Kaminsky Park. They played in the old park, and when the new park, the Kaminsky Park that we knew, that all the way through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they started playing there in 1910, the very year the park opened. So there's a lot of interesting history that can be talked about as related to park rental. In 1931, black teams began playing in Yankee Stadium. So there's a lot of good history out there that we can talk about. All right, and of course, if you've been following my broadcast, this time of year, you've got baseball players who are playing football, and we got some pretty good ones. And so my next fact is a football guy. This guy played basketball too, but his name was Harry Fang Ward. So October 23rd, 1926, Fang Ward's 50-yard touchdown gave Lincoln University its first loss of the 1926 football season in a 7-0 win by Wilberforce at Pittsburgh's Forbes Field in a game organized by Cumberland Posey of the Homestead Grays. Now, Cumberland Posey, we know who he is. He's in the Hall of Fame. He played basketball, and he led the Homestead Grays. But he's getting Wilberforce. Now, Wilberforce is an AME college. I know quite a few people who graduated from Wilberforce. And actually, my pastor at my church right now, he and his wife are Wilberforce graduates. So, but they were playing, and then they're playing in Pittsburgh's Forbes Field. So they're playing football in Forbes Field and baseball at the same time, over in Ebbets Field. These stadiums are all in there. And a lot of people never knew from my generation that this information took place. These games took place. And that's one of the enjoyable things I've had over the years, is to be able to talk about all of this history. But Fang Ward played for Wilberforce. He was a basketball star, he was a baseball star, and a football star, and played all sports. And he was really good at them. So if you don't know much about Lincoln University, now here's the other thing. There's a Lincoln University in Jefferson City, and there's another Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. So they're playing, and both of these are HBCUs, what we could call a traditional HBCU. And for those of you who don't know what that means, that's a historically black college, a university, right? HBCU, college or university, historically black college or university. So they are playing Lincoln in the East, not Lincoln in Jefferson City in Missouri. Okay, want to point that out to you. Okay, let's go to another one. October 23rd, 1932, the Royal Colored Giants defeated the El Paso Club, twice in a doubleheader by a 7-1 score behind Cannonball Willis. Willis's 7-hit pitching in the opener, and returned to have Satchel Paige toss a 5-hitter in the 7-inning nightcap for a 9-2 victory for Satchel at Los Angeles White Sox Park. And Hoss Walker homered over the right field fence in Game 2. So Jesse Hoss Walker, let me tell you a little bit about him. His nickname was Hoss, Hoss. And I was talking to, I think it was Chet Brewer that told me this because he went to Japan in 1932, or no, 27. He was 27 when he went. So he went to Japan, and there was some high official that they met. And when they met him, Walker said, "What's up, Hoss?" And the players looked at him, and from that point on, they began calling him Hoss Walker. That's the story that I heard from one of the ball players. I'm almost sure it was Chet Brewer, but I talked to several people who were part of that team. So, but I think it was Chet Brewer who told me that story. Hoss Walker. So he said that, I don't know if who the person was that he was talking to, but it was some very high official in Japan. So, okay. So we're going to go there. And then a guy we don't talk about enough, and he was with the Elite Giants. And so since he was with the, well, you know, I always got to correct myself. They were never called the Elite Giants. They were called the Elite Giants. And I always say this, and see, a lot of time I like to throw that Elite, and it just goes right. People don't pay any attention. So I have to come right back and say they were called the Elite Giants. Because if you really think about it, what in the hell is an elite? We know what an elite is. And Tom Wilson, when he's naming his team, he wanted his team to be recognized as the very best. They were elite athletes, and they were the Elite Giants. So if you get anybody talking about that elite stuff, man, they don't know what they're talking about. There's no such word talking about elite, but there's an elite. And you got to remember that. Take note of that. Okay, so yeah, Cannonball Willis was one of their great pitchers. Great nickname, Cannonball. And you know, I've talked to certain players over the years, and even when I coached, I noticed this too. There were some guys who threw a heavy ball, and there were some guys who threw a light ball. So when you're catching them, you can tell some guy just had a heavy ball. I mean, this is coming at the same speed, but it just feels different. A heavy ball, because, you know, and I remember talking to Fred Langford, and he was talking about Andrew Skinner. And he told me that Andrew Skinner had a light ball. He said you could catch him with a fielder's glove. And when he's pitching, you could catch him with a fielder's glove. You didn't even need a catcher's mitt because his ball was a light ball. And so that's a little kind of inside baseball in case somebody's out there want to break that down and talk about it a little deeper. All right, let's go to the next one. I've just got a couple more. So October 23rd, 1945, Jackie Robinson of the Kansas City Monarchs signed a contract to play with the Montreal Royals for the 1946 season. And of course, the Royals were a Brooklyn Dodgers farm club operating in Canada. And of course, Jackie did complete the 1946 season with Montreal. And of course, you know what happened. The rest is history, right? I'm not going to go into Jackie Robinson tonight because I can spend a whole broadcast. And one of these days, I'm going to spend a whole broadcast on Jackie's time with the Monarchs from my own point of view, right? And I interviewed Sammy Haines. Sammy Haines gave me quite a bit of insight. Also, Othello Renfro, and was quite helpful too. And a lot of people don't know Othello Renfro, when he's playing for the Monarchs, he married my cousin, Juanita Peeler. And I don't know, you know, I have ancestors who are part of the Peeler family. Anthony Peeler, who played for the Lakers, played for a bunch of teams in the NBA. That is also a cousin, and that was Juanita's cousin as well. And so, but he was married to Juanita. They got married in Norburn, Missouri, and my mother was born in Norburn, Missouri. And so, but that's down in Missouri there, not too far from Brunswick, where we were slaves in Brunswick. My ancestors were enslaved people in Brunswick. So, but we were able to get free, and we had people who fought in the Civil War, and my great grandmother, I guess she would be 3 grades, who was the slave mother. She is buried in Leavenworth, Kansas. So I need to get down there and put some flowers on her monument down there. So need to do that very soon. And we do go often. All right. So, okay. So that's Jackie Robinson. Everybody knows about him when he came up to Brooklyn. Number 42 is retired all over the league. You can tell me probably more about Jackie Robinson than anyone else. All right. Here we go. Let's go to a 1993. Now, I remember this night. I was speaking in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I'm going to tell you why I remember this night so well. But let me tell you why the baseball feat that happened on that night. October 23rd, 1993, Joe Carter hit a game-winning three-run homer off Mitch Williams of the Philadelphia Phillies in the ninth inning to give the Toronto Blue Jays an 8-6 victory and a second consecutive World Championship for manager Cito Gaston. Yeah, I just saw Joe Carter and Cito Gaston about a couple of weeks ago. They were here in Kansas City for an event with the Negro Leagues Museum. I even still got my Cito Gaston autographed picture there. So I haven't even put it up yet. So I still have it close by. So anyway, yeah, that was a big event. Now, recent I remembered, I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was speaking there. I had been been invited there by an old timers group, and these were people who were former players. Also, one of them was a wife of a former Milwaukee, not Milwaukee Brewer, yeah, Milwaukee Brewer. I was there, but the night I remember, the thing I remember most about the night was a guy, he came and he presented me a book on the Colored House of David. I still have the book. And he said, I want you to have this book. And he said, will you get a chance to come by my museum? I said, oh yeah, I didn't know you had. What's the name of your museum? He said, the Black Holocaust Museum. And this was in Milwaukee. And he was the guy who started the museum. And the reason he started the museum is because back in Indiana, he was almost lynched. And it's a great story. I think that there's a book that I read, I have it in my collection, it's called Our Hometown. And it's about the people who conducted that lynching, and it has a picture of the people standing around, and there was two black guys. He was able to get off, so he was not lynched, but his friend was lynched. And so there's people standing around in this picture, and the lady who wrote the book identifies the picture of the people standing around because they're all her relatives. And these were white citizens standing around looking at the black man they had just lynched. And so, but this guy was there, and he started the Black Holocaust Museum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And he was there, and he gave me this book, and he talked to me for a little bit. The next day I did go to the museum and saw what they had there when I was in Milwaukee. But all of this happened on the night that Joe Carter hit that home run. And of course, they had the TV going in my event. So all I had to do was step to the side room and I could see the game. So I remember that very well. There are some nights where you will remember right where you were when certain things happen. All right. So as you know, usually when I wrap up my broadcast, I try to do a coming and a going, or one or the other. So tonight I'm going to do a coming. Now the coming is somebody who was born on this date, all right? A going is someone who passed away on this date, which is October the 23rd. So October the 23rd, 1922, Willie Wells Jr. is born in Austin, Texas. Of course, Willie Wells played for the Memphis Red Sox and later the Chicago American Giants first, and then played for the Memphis Red Sox. Also, he was the son of the great legendary Willie Wells, tremendous home run hitter, just a great player all the way around. Interesting thing, I remember, I'm going to jump to the dad now. I remember talking to Papa Bell, and the interesting thing was that in St. Louis, they swore by Willie Wells. And then when you talk to the old timers around Kansas City, they swore by Dobie Moore. What I've been able to understand through talking to them is that Willie Wells played a more shallow shortstop than Dobie Moore because Dobie Moore had a great arm. Dobie Moore was the Kansas City Monarchs shortstop through 1926, and then unfortunately he was shot in the leg, and that ended his career with the Monarchs, and actually ended his professional career. But Willie Wells was a great hitter, and so was Dobie Moore. I think had Dobie been able to play as long as Willie Wells, I think Dobie would have been better. So, but Willie is in the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, and that's not taking anything away from Willie Wells because Willie Wells was just a clutch hitter. So there were two guys right there who could have both been Hall of Famers, but things happen in life, and sometimes injuries, the like, stop people from reaching their greatness, and that's what happened to Dobie Moore. So, but Willie Wells Jr., and I think somebody can help me out. I don't know if it was in Canada, but the father and the son did play together. And there's a couple of instances through the years where you had father and son play together. So Willie Wells and Willie Wells Jr. played together for a brief period. Frank Duncan and Frank Duncan Jr. played together for a brief period. And somebody, it seemed like there's somebody else too that played. But there are lots of ball players who had children who played, but they didn't always play with their dad. So those were two people that I definitely know played with their dad, Willie Wells Jr. And Willie Wells, I'm surprised because he ended up passing in the 90s. I'm surprised I didn't get a chance to interview him because I interviewed his dad. So it's kind of remarkable that I missed him, the son, but I got the dad. And I do have autographs and letters that I got from the dad, all right? So anyway, that's Willie Wells Jr. And that kind of concludes my broadcast for tonight, guys. This is Phil Dixon. This has been my version of this day in Black baseball history with some commentary comes from my 45 plus years as being a historian. And in addition, guys, a lot of people may or may not know this, but I was also assistant director of public relations for the Kansas City Royals for a period. I'm co-founder of the Negro League Baseball Museum, and I have probably about 8 or 9 books out there that you might want to find at least one of them and read one of these books. And you don't have to read my mind; you can read my book. And I have a lot of information in books. I'm just spewing information all over the place. So thank you for joining tonight. And hey, we're going to call it quits for tonight. I'm going to ponder if I can squeeze in doing analysis on the World Series, my own special analysis. We'll see what happens. All right. So anyway, thank you everybody for joining in. I appreciate you. And hey, I can't get away without this. I am trying to get 300 subscribers. I've only been doing this for a couple months, right? I think I'm going to my 4th month, maybe 3rd month, somewhere in there, 3rd going to 4th. But I want to get 300 subscribers by the end of October, right? So it's an ambitious goal. So I'm just picking away a little bit at a time. So if you like what you hear and you think it's interesting enough to come back, come on back. But be sure to hit that bell and subscribe. And tell if you're a baseball fan, tell a friend about the broadcast. I'm going to keep giving you information that you can't get anywhere else, or you won't get anywhere else because people don't want to spend the time digging it out. All right, thank you guys. Have a nice day. It's been my pleasure.